we realize that bandits, terrorists have moved from Niger State, where they predominantly operated for so many months, years, and now we are seeing their activities around Kaduna.
Well,
Kaduna being a neighboring state to Niger State.
well,
We are also a neighboring state to Niger. But they find it comfortable to move further north.
no, I think
Kaduna.
there's a slight mix-up because the BBC report today was that, in fact, it's the Kagara Development Association, like the town hall meeting, who said that Obasani has cut a deal with bandits in Kaduna State, and they have now moved to Niger State. So it's a ding-dong affair. But one thing is sure, the whole of that.
So they look for safe haven
Exactly,
at different points in time.
exactly.
If Niger is state, you see them operate in Niger. When Niger becomes unbearable for them, when they are being, run after, pursued in Niger, they move to Kaduna.
Exactly. And you know that area it is well forested. Although when you talk of well forested, when you go to Delta or Edo or Ondo, you will see what forest is. Because I don't think there's any forest in that area.
Maybe we should say fallow land, not occupied.
Yeah, well, in fact, the language they use now is ungoverned territories.
Ungoverned, yeah,
yes.
ungoverned.
But to
Ungoverned.
me, there is no territory that is ungoverned except the people decide to be ungoverned. Because everything lies within the 923,768 square kilometers of Nigeria. And Nigeria has a federal government supervising the whole country, 36 state governments and the FCT, and 774 local governments. So if anybody decides that one area is ungoverned, it is because that individual has decided that nobody will govern me. That is the way I see it.
And because they are already beginning to take taxes from the people, they've put up another flag that is not the green, white, green that we know. You know, I think that's why but for the forest you're talking about, I think those are, they're just forests. They're forests, you know. We won't say they are fallow lands because, you know, the forests, they have what they contribute to the ecosystem. But, you know, those are areas that you regularly will not find people, you will not find development, you will not find people going through that places. So it's become a hideout for these bandits. And let's not forget that Kaduna has had a long share of whatever form of crisis, whether it's ethno-religious crisis that has been happening in that place. I know since 1989 down up till the 2000s. So it's a state that has been troubled by a lot of crisis. And then right now we're seeing that maybe there's a little bit meltdown of the crisis, but we're beginning to see banditry. We're hearing of herdsmen, farmers clash, we're hearing of kidnappings that are happening. And when all of this happens, they always run into the bush. You know, it's a vast land. You know, Niger is one of the biggest places, and because of the border, so the lands are just so vast that it's difficult for you to begin to find people there.
In terms of land, I think Niger has the largest land area in Nigeria.
Yes.
But you see, somebody very recently said that the whole of Nigeria will fit into Alaska. The whole of Nigeria. And Alaska is only one state in one country. Then there are countries that have up to 5 time zones. And somehow they are able to keep their people safe. From time to time, there are sporadic shootings of maladjusted young men and sometimes women in schools, in bus stations, railway stations. But it's not as if to say you want to travel. So instead of taking your 6 hours from Ilorin to Kaduna Strait, you are taking 10, 12 hours. Because not only is the road bad, you will run into traffic jam anywhere between Jeba and Bida. Traffic jam of kilometers. Then after that, you now have to instead of, as the mathematicians would say, traveling by the hypotenuse, you have to move to the opposite, then go and bust out on the adjacent. And that adjacent now, that adjacent one that they talk about is the one where tanker will fall and people will be scooping fuel and there will be fire. So these are that security thing is a problem.
Not where tanker will fall, where tanker fell.
No, okay.
So it will not fall again.
Okay, but by God's grace, by God's grace.
So it's important that we begin to have a security architecture. Yes, well, first of all, for our states, because these governors can only do security within their states. But right now, we're beginning to see that there has to be total synergy. You know how, I get worried if I hear maybe people in authority saying that there's no place for crimes and criminality in this state. Go elsewhere. And I'm like, where should they go? You hear that a lot. And you're like, where should they go? Because if you're saying they should go somewhere else, that means that person too will also say go somewhere else. And where is the somewhere else they will go to? So they can go to somewhere else, do what they need to do for a period of time, and then go somewhere else. So I believe that there should be that synergy. I know there's the synergy because we have a national police force.
You probably return back to where it all started.
Yes.
Because by the time we'll be going from one place to another, there's a likelihood that where it all started, they are likely to drop their guards and they think,
they are back home.
Yes.
And before you know it, they are back there.
And don't forget, as they are moving, they are recruiting more minds and hearts, and they are converting them to whatever it is that they have. So I believe that there should be that strong architectural, a security architecture that works for state to state, especially if you share borders. At times you hear that, okay, someone committed a crime in so place, he was found in so place. It's because of the synergy that the Nigerian police has. So if we begin to have that architecture while we're planning for our security, we'll say, okay, we're doing police post here, we're putting this, and then we're putting it into perspective. I know they do that, but in real times that we really need to compare notes. We really need to be able to pull resources together, because it's always going to come down to what resource you're putting in place. If you're saying, okay, I can bring so to the table, what can this person bring? That makes it work. At the end of the day, if we have a well synergized plan, it will help us reduce all these talks of there's no place for crime and criminality here, go elsewhere. Because the elsewhere is still Nigeria now, Abi. Even if they are outside Nigeria,
you see, the reality is that, like you said, we have Kaduna State neighboring Niger State. And the Birnin-Gwari axis, which is probably the most complex one, is the border between Zamfara, Katsina, and Kaduna State. That is where those three states share a common border. And there is, I can't remember the name of, there's one game reserve there.
Is it okay? It's not.
So that game reserve,
where
in the border between Kaduna, Katsina, and Zamfara, is at Birnin-Gwari axis, such that those who are going to, say, Katsina, Funtua, when they get to Birnin-Gwari, they go to the left. Going to Kaduna city, you go right.
Street.
So that area has been known to be a haven for undesirable elements, suspected criminal elements. I personally have been robbed in that axis before. In that particular robbery, somebody was killed. I went to attend a Kwara United match with El Kanemi. And on coming back, meanwhile, like we said earlier, my father was living in Maiduguri at that time. My father lived in Maiduguri for more than 40 years. I am not yet 60, so you can see how much of my life that is.
16.
By July, I'll invite you to my birthday party.
Hey.
So, and your pull-out ceremony.
Exactly.
Why are you particular about that?
So, I mean, the match was on. We got to Maiduguri on a Friday morning. We traveled. The situation was not yet this bad. So, the match was on Saturday afternoon. We lost. It was a Nigeria league. We lost. But you see, I could not bring myself to leave Maiduguri on Sunday morning when the match was over. So I waited in Maiduguri for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So on Tuesday I took off. Normally, I will enter Good Morning Maiduguri at about 10 p.m. in Kano and get to Maiduguri maybe about 6 a.m. or thereabouts. Similarly, I would leave Kano, that's coming from Maiduguri. You get to Kano maybe 4 p.m. Maiduguri to Kano, depending on the route you pass, is between 623 and 589 kilometers. Normally it will take you like 7 hours. There are a number of turns, you know, and the road is not particularly bad. My father's office has a liaison office, so I will normally go and take lunch there, spend some time there, and come back to Naibawa and enter Good Morning Lagos. Good Morning Lagos, when I was an undergraduate, I would drop at Ibadan, Iwo Road. When I started working in Ilorin, I would drop at Eyenkori. Now, I don't think anybody can afford to take such a risk because, I mean, who are you playing with? In Kagara, in December last year, I don't know
Kagara, that's in
Niger State. I don't know when Ubasani was able to, he got some kind of arrangement, some kind of peace deal with the bandits in Kaduna State. Meanwhile, he had empowered the army a lot, something our governor here too has done. I think they have a whole motorcycle company now in the Birnin-Gwari area, so that wherever the bandits enter, the soldiers will follow. So I think it got to a stage that they now just had to come to an understanding. So I think the Niger people are saying that that understanding with Ubasani, that they can no longer operate, they have now intensified operations in Niger. But let's not forget, in Niger earlier on, Kagara was attacked twice. On the first occasion, they kidnapped their school children. On the first occasion, they scattered their markets, looting, killing. Then on the second occasion, they kidnapped their school children. The emir of Kagara, shortly after, died. The Yoruba cultural mindset said that they opened a calabash for him, you know, in the Yoruba sense, you know. Whatever it may be, the story is that the man's cardiovascular system could not take that shock of those multiple attacks on his community, you know. And I mean, this is a man who had contributed very greatly, particularly to the educational development sector in his state, and lost like that. So these are the issues that are on ground in those areas. And we in Kwara, we have to be careful. Hausa people used to say, if your neighbor beard catch fire, you better put water beside your own.
Grace, that's the one. You are sitting next to him, so be careful.
So if there is fire bandit fire in Kaduna State, and they are running to Niger State,
Niger won't even sit down and watch them overrun them. They would also rise up to do something.
Yeah, but you see, we too, that means that we have to raise some kind of tentacles or antenna to start scanning the environment so that they don't come here. Let's not forget that we have not, I mean, while no doubt I think we're a state of peace and harmony, when you think of some events that have taken place, a whole traditional ruler, a member of 22nd regular course of Nigerian Defense Academy, the Olukoro of Koro, was shot dead. Can you imagine? A regular brigadier general, 1-star, Kabiyesi, and his wife was abducted. But the king was killed, a regular officer. I mean, it's bad news.
Okay. Let's move.
So I think it's an opportunity for us to also call on communities, community people, you know, members. We are part of the...
I mean, like they used to say, security is everyone's business.
Yes. So we're part of the community policing structure that has been put in place. So let's be watchful. Let's make sure that we're not unnecessarily accommodating people who might want to come to do harm to our communities. Yes, it doesn't stop us from being one Nigeria. We all have the right to move around Nigeria, stay and build and do whatever we want to do around Nigeria, but within the confines of the law. So we just want to urge our people to continue to be security conscious.